Tippy time my damies, Topcat here and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very fun Titan build for you that does both tremendous melee damage and weapon damage. The bones of this go back to the launch of Final Shape, but it's with the new artifact mods that makes this worth using now. Titans easily have the best melees in town and this build might feel a bit familiar, but trust that with a few tweaks we're going to get that crown munching best out of it. A standard non-charged melee does 8,685, but we are going to make this non-charged melee the focal point for this build. Using knockout, when we wound or break shields, our melee is infused with arc energy, increasing both our range and damage. This is going to double it to 17,000. With shield crush, when we have overshields, woven mail or frost armor, our melee is at 25% harder for 22,000. I like the Behemoth Super the best. It's tremendous damage, great against all champions, and against certain dungeon and raid bosses it's unrivaled. We use Faceted Purpose to get frost armor stacks off of our orb pickups. These stacks are going to last us for 10 seconds. Our main source of orbs is going to come from our heavy handed. I've got 3 of these equipped so I can make an orb every second. Our exotic of choice is going to be the Wormgod Caress. It's got 2 parts to it. The first, when defeating a target with a melee or finisher, we are granted an escalating melee damage. This is capable of stacking our standard melee another 375%, taking it from 8,685 to 81k. This is enough power to go around one punching mofos. Now this is obviously extremely strong for a non-charged melee, but it's going to take you some time if you plan on fisting every enemy in a strike. Thankfully we now have shock and awe in the artifact, as knockout infuses our non-charged melee into that arc melee, so we can now create a jolt storm on kills. This gives our little punch tremendous AoE damage, and we can proc this every 5 seconds. We're just going to be able to waltz through waves and waves of red and orange bars, saving that melee charge for when we really need it. Consecration is the obvious no-brainer for any melee-centric Titan build, as at base, without our knockout, shield crush and Wormgods, it's already doing 104,000. But with all the toys, it jumps to 485,000. That's stronger than some of the supers out there. With Facet of Courage, when debuffed by darkness, that's another 10% buff to our light-based abilities. Our best source of this is whilst we are transcendent with those gimp rope and jumper cable combo nades. This will take our consecration to 533,340. That's more than enough to drop any champ. But just because this build has a tremendous amount of melee power, it doesn't make it the only way to play it. A byproduct of this charge bar is a bonus to weapon damage. The bar is segmented into 5 parts. At 0 and 1 bar, our scout rifle hits a base value of 3,524. Bars 2 and 3 see it go to 25% weapon damage bonus, taking us to 4,404. And at stacks 4 and 5, this is a massive 35% bonus. It's not a surge either, which means we can actually stack it even higher with mods on our legs. One thing though with this kit, it's pretty heavy on our light based attacks, so you're going to want a kinetic or darkness weapon to balance out our transcendent bars. I've been using the Call myself in that primary slot. We're using the Solar Fulmination mod. This is going to increase our ignition damage and radius. With Facet of Ruin, we increase our AoE and damage with ignition and shatters. This is primarily in place for that Consecration Slam, but it will also increase our super damage by roughly 13%. For my actual charge melee option, I've gone Hammer Strike. This way I don't have to have a second melee button mapped to main that knockout punch. I don't want to accidentally use my charged melee prematurely. Those who normally struggle with the normal Behemoth Super approach of getting back 14 meters and then letting your target self-shatter the crystals, the Wormgods can suit a closer approach. All of our damage stacks from Wormgods still work in your super, so you can spam punch away in close quarters. Now playing this close, survivability is key if we plan on knuckle dusting half the known universe. Knockout's going to amplify us and restore a portion of health, but I would still pair that with Facet of Blessing to start its health regeneration. I'm also pairing with both Recuperation and Better Already mods on my boots. These do much the same as Knockout and Blessing, but when is more health a bad thing? Also, those orb pickups we've got are going to give us that Frost Armor. From one orb we jump to 2 stacks for a 9% damage resist. It stacks up to ×5 for a 22.5% damage resist for 10 seconds. Galvanic Armor in the artifact is going to give us that DR whilst we're amplified. This is another 30%, and as we're close enough to smell their breath, Facet of Protection offers us further DR when surrounded. At base this is 15%, whilst Transcendent this jumps to 32%. Now feel free to pause here for all my mods, build stats, fragments and artifacts, but there will be a dim link in the description down below. The Wormgods are getting slept on. I know the exotic class items are exciting, but these also have those 2 perks buffing both our melee and weapon damage. With Shock and Awe, now we had the AoE required for ourselves to punch ourselves through the masses. We got tons of base damage, so we're always prepared with that 500,000 damage consecration for when that big bad comes a knockin'. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm also looking for a fun no backup plan build, so if you got one, hit me up. Make sure to thumb it if you dug it, sub if you're new, and as always, tippy time my Jamies, whatatai.